Hello again. It is Crew Call here on Motor Racing Network, talking to the men and women behind the wrenches, taking you in the garage in the NASCAR community. So glad you joined us. Todd Gordon and Steve Post here, and we've got a great program for you. Daytona 500 winning crew chief Jeremy Bullins will join us, and we'll talk to Randall Burnett from up at Richard Childress Racing. That is Tyler Reddick's crew chief. So great program. And Todd, you were a spectator watching from afar the Daytona 500. First off, you're obviously upright. You obviously survived it. Your Daytona 500 not in the pit box. Was it acceptable? Was it all right?
Yeah, it definitely was. It was different to sit at home and watch it, but definitely, I'm adapting. I'm adapting to this home life and watching on TV. Definitely doing some decent digging and research on things that you see during the race and trying to understand more about it. But it was pretty cool to see the event. I thought a spectacular race and quite an outcoming for the next gen car.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a lot, and when we get Jeremy on, we'll talk about Team Penske and everything. But had to do your heart good to see Roger Penske on his 85th birthday getting a chance to hoist the trophy.
Definitely. I mean, like I've said before, I've got a huge amount of admiration for RP, and he's more of a person than anybody can perceive from the outside. Just a class act, and great to see him get that birthday present, and Jeremy Bullins to win a 500 and. The changes that happened with that two team and to bring Discount Tire, who's kind of been the stepping stone for all of us, me, Jeremy, Paul.
Oh, that's right.
You think about,
remember that Xfinity program was all program that got us going. Yeah.
So, really cool for them to get to victory lane with him, and it'd be cool to talk to Jeremy later today.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Overall, speaking of adapting, you adapted to life off the pit box. Everyone adapted to the next-gen race car. And I know we're still early with two very unique races, the Coliseum and then a super speedway race. Any of your takeaways on the car and how the car did where we're at here?
Yeah, I thought it put on a heck of a show.
Yeah.
It's different. It races a little differently. You still see pack racing but the pushing played more. You didn't see as much about the bubble push that everybody talked about, where cars couldn't get to cars' bumpers, and it's almost like they just push them out away from them. And talked to Ryan a little bit about that this week, and they race a little differently, more contact, which I think for the spectators, you got to love that.
Yeah.
A few wrecks there that we're learning that process, but
right.
I think a spectacular show.
What I think I always come away from this, we all change everything up. We move things. We do this, we do that. And when we get to the finish, Ryan Blaney is always in the picture. The two-car, Austin, obviously. Brad's always in the picture. Michael McDowell's always in the picture. There seems to be the same guys always in the picture coming down off from turn number 4 to that checkered flag. No matter what we seem to do, there are some guys that just really understand this type of racing.
Yeah, we didn't change it enough to change it where the good guys weren't still good. But it was a great show, and a lot of side-by-side action, and looking forward to where this goes forward. And this weekend going to California, another venue that's going to be different for this car. We'll see where it all falls out.
Very different. Looking forward to talking to Randall Burnett about that, because he is just such a great hands-on crew chief with a driver that loves this kind of racetrack. I can't imagine how they approach it. So we'll talk to Randall about that as well. Fun stuff, that is for sure, the Daytona 500. So let's do it. Let's step away. When we come back, Jeremy Bullins, the Daytona 500 winning crew chief, joins us here on Crew Call.
NASCAR Coast to Coast is a show dedicated to spotlighting the short track community across the country. Whether it's late models out west or modifieds in the Northeast, this show has it covered. Hosted by Chris Wilner and myself, Kyle Rickey, NASCAR Coast to Coast offers insightful interviews and fun deep dives into the what, when, why, and hows of grassroots racing in America. Offering a new show every Thursday on the Motor Racing Network's YouTube channel. This show serves the heart of racing from coast to coast.
It is Crew Call here on Motor Racing Network, and as we talked about before the break, joining us is the Daytona 500 winning crew chief from up at Team Penske, Jeremy Bullins. Jeremy, welcome into Crew Call. Congratulations. Let me say this so you can hear it. Daytona 500 winning crew chief. I bet that has a good ring to it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. That was a pretty awesome day, and Really nice to hear that.
Just tell us about. I mean, tell us about the emotions. Last 5 laps, sitting there. You know, the last restart, you kind of start side by side with your teammate you've been working with all day long, and really, you're pretty close with both those drivers. One being your current driver, one your former driver, and really cool place.
Yeah, to be honest, like if you look at the last restart, I was so focused on the guys running third and fourth. Never even crossed my mind that we would, kind of do the teammate restart thing and Blaney would let us down because I wasn't even going to ask because I felt like, that was his opportunity to start on the front row, try to win the race too. So that was his idea. I mean, that, like I said the other night, like what a great teammate. I think he did a really good job of doing the things that we've talked about forever of trying to make sure his car won. And, he got us out front far enough to where he could make a run and let him race to the end. And, the last couple laps, I didn't look at anything but the monitor in front of me. And we had a great view. Obviously 23 got really close and, Ryan was on the outside and, Austin was playing a lot of defense, but the view we had from our pit stall, it was no doubt we won. It was no doubt we got the start finish line first. And it was just craziness from there. It was, I've just now got my voice back from screaming so much, Sunday night.
Now, Austin talked about post-race shenanigans. I mean, I know there was the Steak and Shake. Did you partake in any of the further post-race shenanigans? Austin said he was on his best behavior, but this is kind of the party team up at Penske. Was there anything after the Steak and Shake?
Well, I guess we're getting the reputation as the party team. The boys like to play the radio loud in the garage, and they like to have a good time, but they work hard. So I'm okay with that. But I successfully avoided most of the shenanigans. So Tina and I left and went back to the hotel, and I knew they were going somewhere. I didn't know where, but I knew there was no chance they were going to bed, and I just went to bed, didn't say anything, and kept quiet. And I think she was probably more disappointed than I was that we didn't go out and stay out all night. I was okay with it.
Yeah, it's Daytona 500 champion. It's a different deal than most other wins that you'll have. How does this change the pressures and expectations for you guys? I mean, just it's what a relief.
Well, it's crazy. I guess there's so many things when you go into the Daytona 500 that you can't control. Obviously, you think about winning it, but really you think about how do I get in position to win it, and how do we keep ourselves in position to win it. So to get the win, be locked in the playoffs, all those kinds of things. Like we know we still have a lot of work to do. We still have a brand new race car that we have a ton to learn about, and it's great because it gives us the opportunity to have some learnings and time to work with the car and not necessarily have to worry about chasing points all year. And so I hope that it speeds up the learning curve for us as a company and gets us ahead quicker because we're able to maybe try some things with the 2-car here early that we wouldn't have felt comfortable doing right away. So but we still know that there's a lot of work to be done, and obviously now we can start thinking about stage wins and playoff points and try to win some more races and get ourselves as far as we can make it now.
Jeremy, your driver, Austin, he's been around the building forever and ever, obviously, and everyone has kind of seen him growing up. What can you tell us about him now that he's your driver, that he's your guy? What can you tell us about him? What types of things have you learned that give you so much optimism going forward?
I just think the work ethic. He puts so much effort into it. Studies really hard. He does a really good job of taking notes from the event, and he stays on me to make sure he has the debrief sheet to fill out. All those kinds of things to make sure that he's putting the effort in. He doesn't want to be the weak link. He wants to make sure that he's asked all the questions ahead of time, and he's thought about the race and thought about how the event will play out and all those kinds of things to understand how he fits in and what his job is, and outside of just driving the car. And he really does study what Joey and Ryan do and what Brad did and those things. Like, he really has put a lot of effort into that. And I think that's shown with the growth that you've seen out of him the last couple of years.
You talk about the development in the notebook and how the race plays out. How did the 500 race differently than with this car than it has in the past?
I think it seemed like the runs were different. I was surprised when we made the decision to pull out and make our move to try to get closer to the front with like 14 to go or whatever. I was kind of surprised at how fast we got there, to be honest. Like once the lane pulled down, we were able to go. I think, in the past, maybe that would have taken a little bit more time to get to the front. You had to be really aggressive with side draft, and you still did, but it seemed almost a little easier. It seemed like the cars could race around each other pretty good. So, the funny part was, this car's got a little more drag, so the fuel mileage is a little worse and things like that. So, just being able to try to manage fuel mileage all day to hit some of the windows and stuff that we were used to hitting with that car and with the old car.
Yeah, and then it seemed like it was 2-wide racing and really didn't ever see the 3-wide develop. Is that because of how much contact there is with this car? Because it seemed like there's more actual physical pushing than bubble pushing cars.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the air bubble that we've seen in the past where it's hard to, get locked onto somebody. You can definitely get somebody's bumper pretty easy. And I think that did keep it mostly 2 wide because, you weren't necessarily trying to find a pocket of air to help your car out. Like, it stayed pretty well single file for a while. Kind of like, just you get those stages of the speedway races that I always call them. Todd can relate to this as a pilot, but I always call it cruise flight. You reach your altitude and you're just kind of ride around for a while and wait for the next thing. But when guys got ready to go, they could pull out and make a move and take a line with them, and that was pretty fun to watch.
Exciting stuff, that is for sure. Has there been in the aftermath somebody, some person, someone reach out to you that's kind of made you look at your phone a second time, or just kind of think about it a little bit more?
You know what? I've been very fortunate to get a ton of phone calls, a ton of texts, from family and a bunch of my dirt racing buddies and all kinds of stuff like that. It was really cool to see how many people were paying attention to that race. The place was packed. Obviously, I think that the anticipation of the next gen car or whatever it was, like there's so many people at the racetrack, and it was really cool. So, but yeah, when you win one like that, it's pretty cool. Like the vast, number of texts and calls and messages that you get is pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So moving forward, now that your feet are kind of settled back on the ground, cars are on their way out to Fontana, place you haven't been in a couple years. Heard resin application. What do you know about that?
Yeah, it sounds like they've done a little bit of track prep. Obviously, nothing's really been on the racetrack, so taking a new car, new profile tire, all that kind of stuff. So I think the resin that they put down, I think the intent there is to try to get the racetrack rubbered. We haven't been there in a while, and try to get some rubber down. When a track sits like that, you get rain, weather, and all that. It just kind of you lose some of the rubber that built up on the track. So they put that resin down, sort of like they've done at Nashville and a couple other places, just to try to get some rubber down as quick as they can to make the racing better and kind of hit the happy spot that Goodyear's looking for with tire wear. They also did a little bit. It sounds like they did some grinding on the back stretch to try to get rid of the bump. I think that's probably the biggest unknown for all of us is trying to hit your travels right with a brand new race car and no testing. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we're going to have this weekend.
It'll be the craziest 15 minutes of practice that we've watched cross racing, right?
It will definitely be the unhappiest 15 minutes. We used to have happy hour. This will be an unhappy 15 minutes.
There you go. Well, I don't know, the 15 minutes on the track or the 15 minutes getting ready, one or the other, it's a whopping lot of time. Before we let you go here, you mentioned your dirt track buddies and everything. One of the things I've always loved about you, I think you race out at Millbridge, you go out there with your nephew some and keep an eye on things and the dirt late model world. Why, when you race so much, why do you constantly and continue to race more?
I don't know. I think it's just what we do. I think it's just hard to get away from it. And I love it. So, I think it's just the competitive nature. I love watching my nephew, grow and gain experience at Millbridge. I love watching him. I grew up working on dirt late models, and I'm still very blessed to have a lot of friends in that world and, get to hang out with them sometimes. I got to see some of them in Volusia. And, it's just, I don't know, I love racing. and I specifically love dirt late models. And like I said, it's just so much fun to go race with my nephew. So hopefully we can get him some more wins this year too.
I love it. It's a great reason to do anything.
Yes,
It's the best reason to do anything, that's for sure. Oh, I do have one other thing. You're originally from Walnut Cove, North Carolina, correct?
Right.
Okay. So you keep winning Daytona 500s, you may become the most famous racer from Walnut Cove. Right now, it's still Burt Myers and Jason Myers, the Myers boys from up at Bowman Gray. You're gonna monkey around and knock them off the Walnut Cove racing pedestal as far as popularity goes.
I don't know. Those boys they got quite the following, so I don't know about that. But it's pretty funny. I think Burt graduated the year before me. Jason graduated high school the year after me. And it was funny because there was the Bowman Gray crowd that went Bowman Gray racing, and then I was at 311 Speedway at the dirt track. So it was almost like completely different racing crowds together. So it's pretty funny. I saw Burt at Martinsville last fall. It was pretty cool to see him. I don't see those guys too often.
Yeah, it is fun stuff. Jeremy, congratulations. We appreciate you joining us on Crew Call, and congratulations on winning that Daytona 500.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for having me.
There we go. Jeremy Bullins joining us here on Crew Call. We're going to step away. When we come back, we're going to move over to Welcome, North Carolina, where Randall Burnett from Richard Childress Racing joins us next.
NASCAR Coast to Coast is a show dedicated to spotlighting the short track community across the country. Whether it's late models out west or modifieds in the Northeast, this show has it covered. Hosted by Chris Wilner and myself, Kyle Rickey, NASCAR Coast to Coast offers insightful interviews and fun deep dives into the what, when, why, and hows of grassroots racing in America. Offering a new show every Thursday on the Motor Racing Network's YouTube channel. This show serves the heart of racing from coast to coast.
Crew Call continuing on. We appreciate Jeremy Bullins joining us. Let's keep right at it. On the guest line from Richard Childress Racing, Randall Burnett joins us. Hello, Randall. Welcome into Crew Call.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
We chit-chatted a little bit before we came on the air. Okay, the return from Daytona, West Coast Swing. How are you managing cars, lack of cars, inventory, and any sleep that you might need in between all of this?
Well, the sleep is certainly, there's more of a lack of sleep, I think, than anything at this point. I was telling Todd and yourself that we got loaded up really late last night for Fontana. About ready to head back to the shop. Here in a little bit, I think my guys are starting to show up there, and we're going to start working on our Vegas car, and it's got to load this evening, wee hours of the morning, whenever we get it done, ready to go, because our Vegas car is our backup car for Fontana. So that's been something new for us, a little different way to do things this year, but I think we're adapting to it pretty well.
These first couple events, the Clash and the 500, you guys have had speed. Not the finishes that you wanted out of it, obviously, but really thought you kicked the season off there at the Clash with a ton of speed and a ton of potential. Lots to be excited about in the future with this car, seems like, for you guys.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to Fontana. I appreciate that. We did have a great week at the Clash. Had a lot of fun there. I really enjoyed that race. I was pretty skeptical of it when they announced that deal and how they were going to do it, and following along, prepping for the race and doing all that. We had a lot of fun for that race, and I hope we get to do that again, or something of that manner again. It was a neat deal. Our 8 car had a ton of speed. Andrew Dickinson, our race engineer, and Nate Troop, our other race engineer, and Tyler did a lot of work on that, prepping for that race, and we unloaded with some good speed and made gains throughout our practice session, and was able to qualify second. That thing Kyle Busch got us by about 100th of a second, but ran good, led a lot of it up until we had our problem, and felt pretty pumped up about it leaving there.
Yeah, definitely. You talked about the 2 engineers and Tyler working together on getting that thing sorted out. Going to Fontana this week, a place we haven't been in a couple years and never tested, never been with this new car. How are you guys preparing for that?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in the simulator the last couple of weeks. Honestly, that's all we've got to go off of is our simulation program. We've got 15 minutes to sort it out with limited adjustments that are available to us in that practice session. So we've been working on trying to build what we'd call a safe setup to get started with and try to leave us some room for adjustment from there. So we learned quite a bit at the Charlotte test in December, and then again at Phoenix in January. We're kind of taking as much as we can learn. Obviously, Fontana's a huge unknown. We haven't been there in a couple of years, as you said. It's a high wear racetrack. They're putting the resin on the track, so that's going to be new for us, even at that. So lots of unknowns going into this weekend, and we've just been trying to sort ourselves out, leave ourselves room for plenty of adjustment, and hopefully come up with work on a plan to be able to execute in practice and be able to make some speed.
Yeah, it's and that's a 15-minute practice, and then you've got maybe 15 minutes to turn around and get prepared for qualifying. Is that how that lays out?
Yeah, pretty much. We go out. I think we got 15 minutes, like you said, for practice. I don't know if we're in the first group or the second group. I still got to go through all that. And then we got 15, 20-minute downtime between practice and qualifying. Then we go right into it. So not a whole lot of time, not a whole lot of time to make decisions for qualifying. You got to have a plan for that when you get there, obviously, and probably get 2 runs in practice realistically. Maybe 3 if you're really hustling, but I really think you're going to get maybe 1 adjustment, probably 5 or 6 laps each time you're out, and that's going to be about it.
Man, fascinating stuff, that's for sure. Randall, I want to take you back to simulation, and particularly in this post-COVID time, simulation has become even more critical for the teams, okay? You mentioned one thing, there's another thing when we look at Auto Club. You mentioned resin, and there's also apparently been some grinding done to the racetrack. As a crew chief, what does that make you do with, you're doing simulation, but you have these variables that they're throwing at you here as you go into the weekend?
Well, certainly, they it sounded like they ground the back straightaway, and we saw some pictures of it, the whole width of the back straightaway, towards turn 3 more so, where those bumps were getting to be pretty obnoxious for us there the last couple times we ran there. With those bumps and those really high loads, Fontana's historically been hard on tires, and so trying to figure out. Obviously, we've got new tires going there. Brand new car, new ways of loading up the car through the shocks and the springs and all that. So we're trying to figure out how to manage that, right? How aggressive can you be on the left side tires with camber and air pressures, and still be able to not have a failure. So those are a lot of unknowns for us going in there, and that's not a whole lot of time, 15 minutes to figure that out. So that's something we've been digging a lot into, and hopefully we've got some good direction on it. I feel like we do. I feel pretty good about where we're at. Last night was another problem of trying to figure out how to get your heights right, how to get your setup right, and still be able to pit the car too, with the pit crew guys, and making sure you get enough droop and all that too. So that was another big challenge we faced this week. I think everybody has. So, there's a lot of unknowns going into it.
So Tyler, when I look at his history and coming up through, he's definitely a guy that isn't scared to stick it right up on the wall and run around a place like California. And Fontana has been one that the wall has played in the past. Do you think this new car still ends up being where you're going to have Tyler right up there dusting the dust off against the wall?
Well, I think that's a great question, Todd. Honestly, I don't know what to expect at this point. With the resin, it's such an unknown, right? I think you're going to go and you're going to run on the bottom a little bit, and I think there'll be guys that try the top. I think there's a lot of speed there to be had. What's going to be unknown is how that resin affects that, and how as the rubber builds up, if it builds up marbles, if it starts peeling up, if that resin starts peeling up and you start moving up the track, who knows? We've done a lot of practice on the simulator on both the bottom and on the top, and tried to mimic that the best we could, but we really don't know at this point.
Tyler is, I think we've known he's an Xfinity Series champion. We've known his skill set. Todd just talked about the fact that he's the first one that goes to the wall, and boy, when you get him on the wall, he's got an advantage over everybody if it becomes to that. One of the things I've noticed this year with Tyler is it seems like with his fitness, with his health, is there even more intensity with Tyler as we roll into this season?
Yeah, certainly the last, this is our third year in Cup together, and certainly since we moved up to the Cup Series, his intensity level's grown. Mine has as well, and he's done a phenomenal job with his fitness in training. He trains with Josh Wise a little bit and those guys, and not just physical training, but mentally training as well. And I think we've seen a lot of the benefits of that. Last year, middle of the year. To the end of the year, and I expect to see more of that this year. And his intensity level is pretty high. Like we've been a lot of simulating, a lot of meetings, a lot of talk, and he's on it. He's focused, and I'm really looking forward to getting going through some of these intermediate tracks, and even back to Phoenix. We had a good test at Phoenix with Tyler. I'm looking forward to seeing what we got.
I would think Phoenix. You definitely got to be excited about that one. After it's another short track. I mean, the Clash was such a small track, but a place that I think he's gonna excel at. Looking through the first five, going forward, the one question mark I've got, because I really want to get a feel on this: how does Atlanta race for you? Does it race like Daytona, or does it race like a Vegas?
That's another great question. I wish I knew. I think it's going to be a little bit between both, right? Like we're going down there with I believe the super speedway package with, the 510 restrictor and all that. I feel like with the transitions and Todd, you spent a lot of years there with the transitions. It's going to be hard for it to race like Daytona and Talladega so much because of the transitions in and off the corner. But I think you're going to see more of that direction than say you are at Vegas with the low downforce and the high horsepower.
Going to be fascinating, that's for sure. Always like to go a little bit off track when we get somebody here on Crew Call, Randall. And I saw a post from Nick Hoffman. I did not realize this. You raced in the Arena League. You raced when they had those cars in the arenas. That Coliseum had to be like a super speedway for you after doing that Arena League racing. But were you any good as a driver?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I was racing, asphalt late models at the time, and Ricky Dennis started that Arena League down there in the Bojangles Coliseum in South Charlotte there. My dad thought it would be fun. I grew up racing go-karts, and, Nick grew up, Nick's my brother's brother-in-law. So we're all family from, the St. Louis area, and so my dad got the bright idea, hey, let's get a couple of those things. We'll have you and Nick racing. So we got them, and I didn't know what to think, but gosh, we had a lot of fun. There was a lot of us. There's Josh Turner that actually works at Pro Fabrication. He raced there, and Nate Cannon, and there was a bunch of us there that had a whole lot of fun with that series. And we did it 2 years. Nick won the championship the first year, and I finished second in points. I had to go. The reason I finished second in points, I was leading the points actually, and I had to go to Vegas to sub when I was working at Ganassi as a race engineer. This is one of my first races as a race engineer, and I missed a race, and that kind of put me behind Nick in the points. And Nick did a great job and ended up held us off, but we had a lot of fun with that deal. And I miss it. It was a lot of fun racing that series.
Really cool. You mentioned family. Your brother Jeremy also. There's so many neat things happening in the short track world, and in my view, of course, I'm partial because it's here at home. One of the greatest things in short track racing is Millbridge Speedway. That's your brother Jeremy and his wife Ashley's track. What's it been like to watch them evolve that into this facility now that everybody knows, everyone talks about? It used to be a go-kart track 15 years ago at that, but now this has become one of the hot little short tracks. What's that like to watch your brother have success there?
Yeah, I tell you what, I grew up and I did the driving, and my brother did the working on the race cars, and my dad had, when he was still around, we lost him in 2009 cancer, that kind of stuff. But my brother took over, him and a couple buddies, started leasing that Millbridge track. And I was like, man, are you sure you want to do that? And, to see how far that deal has come and how many big events they've put on there and what him and Ashley continue to do at Millbridge and even other places where they've helped up and stepped and done some promoting as well. So I tell you what, it's a neat deal. Everybody goes out there Tuesday, Wednesday nights, and you're out there all the time. I see you out there all the time. It's a lot of fun. Everybody's got kids, and with us that travel, that's our opportunity to get to race with our kids is during the week. And Jeremy and Ashley put on this deal and really stepped up the program up there. And it's amazing to see. It is definitely, everybody knows what Millbridge is these days. And I'm so proud of him and Ashley for everything they've done up there and continue to do.
So kids racing, or your kids, I know Tatum has raced a little bit, has he? Are they going to follow in the footsteps there?
Well, we're gonna continue getting Tatum up to speed. He's about to turn 5 here in a couple weeks, so we'll continue to race up there on Tuesday night when we can this year and try to get him going and see how that goes. He's had a lot of fun. He's been asking. We haven't been in over the winter that much. Every time they tried to do it, it rained out this winter. So he's chomping at the bit. He keeps wearing me out. Dad, when are we going back to Millbridge? When are we going back? So they're going to start here in March, and I imagine we'll be up there at the first race and see how it goes.
I cannot wait. Tatum cannot wait. And sounds like you can't wait either, Randall. Can't wait to see what happens this week at Auto Club. We appreciate you taking some time and joining us here on Crew Call, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. Todd, I hope you're enjoying retirement, and we certainly miss you.
Yeah, it's a change for me, but it's been good. It's been good. I appreciate all you guys are doing, and look forward to what you can do at Fontana.
We're gonna bring Todd out to Fontana this week. He's gonna be our analyst in the booth, so he'll be in the garage on Saturday. He'll be that pesky media guy in the garage on Saturday, bothering all you guys. So how about that? So
We'll definitely stop by and see us.
Will do.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Randall Burnett, joining us here on Crew Call. Stay with us. More in just a moment. Crew Call continues on. So glad you have joined us and spending time with us. Todd Gordon and Steve Post. Before we get out of here, I want to thank Jeremy Bullins and Randall Burnett for joining us as well. So listening to our conversation with Randall, talking about not only Atlanta, but talking about Auto Club. Todd, it strikes me, there's a whole lot of things we don't know going into this. This is going to be a fascinating weekend of NASCAR racing.
Yeah, definitely. The unknowns are overwhelming and not... They outweigh the knowns, really, for what they're doing going forward. So it'll be an exciting weekend. 15 minutes of practice, and then which really isn't much to speak of, and they really can't make many changes. So we'll see what happens. I think you're going to see a lot of changes on pit road. I think guys, when you don't have a notebook and you don't have your car worked all the way out, you're going to see wrenches in the rear windows, air pressure, lots of pit stops. It'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, they will get plenty of opportunities because what we're figuring in tire wear, Goodyear's sending out 12 sets of Eagles for the race, which is maybe as many as we've had like Darlington Southern 500 territory.
Yes,
is what
definitely.
It is.
For a 400-mile event.
400 miles,
not
100 miles
not a 500-mile event.
Yeah.
So loaded with tires, but stages at 65 and 130. So you really, if you look at the runs, you got a 65-lap stage, a 60-lap stage, and a 65-lap stage. So be interesting to see how many times these pit crews are jumping over the walls. You might see a double stinted stage where we've got 2 green flag stops in 65 laps. So
wow.
We'll see what happens in practice and where it evolves. But lots of unknowns. Talked to Randall there. He talked about the challenges of pit crews with how low the cars are and making stops happen. And there's pluses and minuses. And like he said, I don't know.
He gave me a term. I've been trying to describe what was not happening. The 48 car on Thursday night had a pit stop where the left front. It's just because you got to wedge the tire up and then on. He used the word droop. I was trying to find a word where that suspension doesn't droop down. That's another learned thing that we have here, that especially the left side, that left front did not droop down at Daytona at all.
Yeah, definitely. And with the aero, it sounds like, and a little bit that I had heard, but the more the rears travel, the more rear downforce you make. So where before we'd see it, the intermediates, the Californias, you'd see the cars kind of up in the air to keep the spoiler up in the air. And now the cars are lower because the diffuser wants to be down by the ground. So lots of things to look for this weekend, and lots of opportunities for mistakes to happen and people to capitalize.
That's why you need to tune into Motor Racing Network all weekend long. We're going to be out there. Let's see, 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon Eastern time. It is NASCAR Cup Series qualifying. We alluded to that. This is going to work. The teams are split into 2 groups based on odd and even finishing place from the Daytona 500. So the A team Group A will have 15 minutes of practice. Group B will have 15 minutes of practice. There'll be a little window for everyone to make adjustments. They'll go out single lap qualifying. Top 5 from Group A, top 5 from Group B make it into the final round with 10 cars. That's all you get on the racetrack. That's Saturday. That's 2 o'clock Eastern time on Motor Racing Network. Saturday at 4:30 Eastern time, it's the Production Alliance Group 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, the Wise Power 400 for the NASCAR Cup Series. It's Jeff Striegel, Alex Hayden, and Todd Gordon in the booth making your debut. You've sat in with us before, but making your Cup Series debut. We're looking forward to a great weekend out there with you joining us.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get a word in edgewise, but you guys have a great broadcast that happens. I just hope to be able to interlude a little bit of information.
I'm sure you will. It will be good. You can get that MRN schedule at MRN.com, and you can also send yourself reminders for every time Motor Racing Network